Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. This one's going to be a little bit of a difficult video to do, and wasn't ever one of the videos that I wanted to do, but I did know it was kind of coming. Times are changing and I want to talk about it, so let's talk about it today. Let's do a little throwback, and I'm probably going to date myself, guys, but I turned 16 in 1993, September of 1993, almost 1994. And back then, before I could drive, I was a budding car guy, and the way I got my fix was I would read magazines. And back then, it was Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords magazines and Super Ford magazine. And I was subscribed to both of those, and I filled out the little card that they stuck inside that when you were at a store and you opened it up, it would fall down on the floor. I filled those little things out, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about. And I would put my little check with it, and I would mail it, and I would have my subscription for that year. And then they, after that, they would send it to me in the mail every year. And without fail, from probably 1990-ish, 91 till back 05, 06, I was subscribed to Super Ford Muscle Mustangs, and then later on 50 Mustang and Super Ford magazine. And every month, like, that was, I waited for that. I would go out and I would check the mailbox, and it would show up. And what would really piss me off was, like, I'd talk to my other buddies on the phone, not via text, on the phone, and be like, yeah, my Super Ford came to. I was like, what the crap? I didn't get mine. And but that's how it was. And I would literally sit there and read it cover to cover, and then the next day read it cover to cover again, or go back and read some of the articles I loved, and then it would go in the bathroom by the toilet or by my bed or whatever, and I would just continually read them, and I would follow along projects and builds and anything that the magazine said was law, as far as this made power and that didn't make power. And it was always cool to see a new car go fast in an event that the only way I got information or coverage on was these magazines. And that's how I started out as a car enthusiast. That's how it was. So I know that, if you're around my age, late 30s, early 40s, that you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I'm pulling at your heartstrings, because, guys, I'm telling you again, this is hard for me to do. So we've talked about the magazines, and the magazines were huge. That was where you found out about events, where you saw event coverage, where you found out about new parts, where you shopped for parts, where you got the 800 number to wherever to, call and order parts. Because you didn't go on websites, and you didn't go on their Facebook page. That is where you saw new parts. That is where you saw the ads for Summit Racing and National Parts Depot and all these other companies that sold these things. Maximum Motorsports and BBK back in the day. That's where you saw the new parts, and or they would have an article about a new part that came out, and you would see them install it, and then they would put it on the dyno and be like, yeah, I gotta buy that. That's how it was. And we lived and died by the magazines. Now, going a little past that, around the turn of the century, a little after, is when the forums started to come around. And for me, bulk of my time was on thecorral.net. I did get on StangNet for quite a bit, SVT Performance, some of the other forums, Four-Eyed Pride. I didn't have one, but I loved getting on there and seeing people post pictures. The forums were a huge part, and I spent countless hours on the forums, arguing with people, talking with people, watching, there would be member build threads. The forums were it, and that was in the early days, I guess, of the internet, pre-social media, and the forums were amazing. And what we would do a lot of times is our magazines would show up, and we'd get on the forums and we'd talk about it. And, I didn't really see anything coming beyond that. At that time, we're talking 03, 04, 05, in that realm. But we would read the magazines, we'd talk about it, or someone would post up, "Hey, I got my car in a magazine," or "Did you see this picture of my car at this show?" Well, I didn't know about this show, but we could talk to. For the first time, we were able to communicate with other enthusiasts across the country, and the winds of change were blowing back then. Now they're really blowing. All right, boys. So after that, and I will take a sidebar. For forever, the dream of every car guy was to get into a magazine, to have a feature, a feature done in a magazine. That was it. That was the holy grail. There was no higher honor. Sure, getting best of show or something at a car show or winning a race was big, but to get in a magazine, like a physical, hold in your hand magazine that you could tear the pages out and frame them and all that, that was it. And I never actually had that honor. My car was put on the website, Mustang360.com. They did a feature on it, but I was never in a print magazine. So I never had that honor. I know there's a lot of guys that I know that didn't have that honor either, but that was it. It didn't get any bigger than that. And, as time progressed of 06, 07, and social media came out, I didn't really think much about it. The forums were still big. They were still booming. And I think the first time it really hit me was right around, I'm going to say 06, 07. And I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please drop a comment below and give me the exact time. But I re-upped for I was due to re-up for 50 Mustang and Super Ford magazine, my subscription. And I got a thing in the mail that said they were no longer in business. Not the parent company, but several of the magazines were going out of print. And that was kind of a kick in the gut. And that was when I really started thinking, hey, the world is changing, and I don't really necessarily like how it's changing, but you can't stop how it changes. So, what's next? What's coming? Guys, for me, it was always one of those things where a magazine, writing for a magazine, working for a magazine, that was always a dream of mine. I would sit there and I couldn't even fathom how awesome it would be to have that as work. And, I would read Editor Turner and KJ Jones and Evan Smith and Jim Camposano, Vinnie Kung, Neil Van Opry, Henry De Los Santos, so many of these guys. These were the guys that I read in the magazines. And I never got to meet these guys. And, I never got to hang out with them. I couldn't friend them on Facebook or, go watch a video of them or anything like that. The only reason I knew what they even looked like was because I saw their pictures in the magazine. But I knew their name. I knew their writing style. And, I loved the work that they did. And, for me, those were my heroes. I did like other sports, but that was, Mustangs specifically, Fox body mainly is what drove me. And that's kind of, as taking another sidebar, that's what kind of got me to where I'm at right now doing the work that I do. So the question is, and I'm sure you already know, the question is, what happened? What happened? And the answer is social media. Social media, Facebook started right around 2007. And, back then it was just where people met people. But as it grew and it developed, Facebook has essentially taken over everything. And you can't survive as a business or as much of anything without it. It's killing Craigslist. You can sell things. You can find a job. You can find a date on Facebook. Everything is there. They're essentially taking over everything. The newspapers, television, the magazines, the Craigslist, the forums. Facebook has essentially taken over everything. And then you throw into the mix the likes of Instagram, YouTube, where you get instant content. That's where everybody is. And, so the forums died. The magazines died. And here's another thing. Guys, I have a website, thefoxcast.com. You know what goes there? I'll be lucky if 50,000 people go there a month. And I could literally probably shut my website down and it wouldn't hurt my business one bit. And if you think about it, guys, how often do you actually go to a physical website for nothing, for barring buying something, like going to Amazon or going to, like buy Stiflers.com to buy a part or something like that. How often do you actually go to a website if not to buy something? And the answer is very little. Um, Most people get their news, they get their information, they communicate with their friends, they keep up with their family, all of that through social media, one venue or another. And that's what happened. So I'm not trying to be a complete downer about this. I mean, the way that we can communicate now is amazing. The way we can get information now is amazing. We can find out about shows and events, and we can do live streams and um, you know post pictures up for people all over the world to see of things that they may never have seen. So it is a good thing. But again, when I started Foxcast Media back in 2015, it was because I kind of saw the writing on the wall and knew that social media was taking over. And my goal initially was I wanted to have a media outlet kind of like the magazines were, but web based. And the more I got into it, the more I knew it would ultimately be social media based. And that's what it's become. And it sucks because I guess you'd call old school. I cut my teeth on magazines and reading magazines and forums, later on. And to be honest, I kind of miss it. There's no waiting. Everything happens instantaneous now. And before, there was the power of anticipation where you had to wait till next month to see the next installment of Project Stalker, Evan Smith's Cobra clone that he raced back in the day that we got to see go from a blue LX to a NHRA Super Stalker. And in some ways it is good, some ways it's not so good, I don't think. But if you're a younger millennial, it's all you know. If you're older like us, you get a little bit more perspective on it. And I don't know. Drop me a comment below. What do you think? Is it good? Is it bad? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Do you not do you frankly not care? I don't know. Let me know. All right, guys. So that is basically what I've got for you today. This was kind of a hard video to do because this takes me back to a long time ago, and how and why I got into and do what I do is for this very reason. So it's difficult to see the magazines go. I knew it was inevitable. I mean, we don't have Blockbuster videos anymore. We don't have Hollywood Video anymore. Newspapers are disappearing. I mean, it's not just the magazines. It's a complete shift in how society gets and receives and puts out information. So it just is what it is. What my job is I have to keep an eye on the trends, and I have to be where you want to be, which is right now Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, and make sure that if that starts to change, I have to evolve with it. And it's tough. It's very tough to build a brand and an entity and build a following here through years of hard work, and then it dissolve. And so I understand how these guys feel. And the guys that work at these magazines are personal friends of mine. They're ridiculously talented guys. They can work on a car and then go write a book. I mean, they're ridiculously talented guys. They're great guys. They're fun guys. And I certainly hope that they get more web based and more social media based so that they can continue their work, because they deserve to, and they put out great work. And I'll always be a fan. And they've always been an inspiration for me. So. It's rough, guys. It's rough. When's a change? It's always, change is hard, but maybe it's for the better. I don't know. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But guys, drop me a comment below. Let's start a conversation with it. I'm really interested to see what you have to say and see what your thoughts are on this. And I don't know what's the future hold. Where is it going? Will Facebook die? Will Instagram die? Will YouTube die? Very possible. Who knows? But drop me a comment below. Love to get a conversation going about this. So in the meantime, if you like this video and you grew up with the old guard too, give me a big thumbs up. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. We'll be back. Later, guys.